If you ever had the childhood memory of going fishing with your parents or your grandparents or anything like that, you've more than likely caught a largemouth bass. Many kids enjoy catching them, including myself. And I've gotten extremely better through the years due to my knowledge of what bass are doing in the water and what's going on in the water. Bass are found abundantly throughout the United States and are considered a trophy fish. They go through many cycles throughout the year, but one of the more important ones is the spawning period. Aside from professional fishermen, anglers put little thought into what they throw and where they throw because it doesn't really matter to them that much, but it really does matter because there are different periods throughout the year. Beginner fishermen can really gain a lot of knowledge from knowing what's going on in the water and what the bass are doing. Largemouth bass follow a specific and unique pattern every year that ensures their survival, including pre-spawn, spawning season, and post-spawn. Pre-spawn is before the largemouth bass are moving up on their beds. They're trying to gain weight, they're trying to eat fish and gain as much weight as they can before they go up on the beds. And this is usually in the early to mid-spring period, and whenever the water temperature is suitable. Coming off the winter, when the water temperature heats up, Andy Whitcomb, who works with the fish hatchery, states, the fish are no longer going to be sulking at the bottom of a cold lake and are going to become hungry. During the winter, these bass are going to find deep pockets in the lake and are going to look for easy meals and anything that comes by that they can pick up. When the water temperature increases, these fish are going to try to find schools of bait fish like bluegill and shad that are going to be easy meals. The females are going to try to fill themselves up as much as possible, and this is a great opportunity for fishermen to catch really big fish. It's similar to a bear in hibernation. While the females are doing this, the male bass are slowly going to make their way up into the shallows so they can start building nests. Bass follow a unique pattern where the male bass do most of the work in building the nest in the spawning period. While the female bass are out eating, the small bass are finding suitable place to make nests, and this can take several days. Baits like crankbaits, swim baits, and chatterbaits are some of the better baits to throw this time of year because they all imitate a bait fish. My favorite is the chatterbait because it imitates a swim bait and it sends a vibration through the water that can get the attention of a bass. Knowing your body of water can really be a great tool to knowing what to throw because you know what kind of bait fish is in the water and what these bass are eating. After a female bass fills up on bait fish, it's going to make its way up into the nesting area. This is a vital point in the largemouth bass life as this is the spawning period. This is where the bass continue their heritage and continue on their life. Spawning will begin when the water temperature reaches about 63 to 67 degrees. At this temperature, the females will make their way up into the spawning areas, and the male bass must impress the females with their nest and their mating styles. This can often be a tedious and violent process because some of the bigger bass are going to be harassed by multiple males at a time. Once the females find a good nest, they're going to settle in and lay their eggs. The North Carolina Wildlife Resource Commission says that female bass are going to be able to lay between 2,000 and 7,000 eggs per pound. However, only 5 to 10 of these will actually reach the size of 10 inches. This is a very fascinating fact, and it's really cool to watch these groups of bass and baby bass grow up. Baby bass, also known as fry, will spawn and the males and the females will fend off other predators. For beginner fishermen, what you're going to want to do is fish the beds. These fish are going to be aggressive and they're going to try to defend the eggs and the spawn. The natural predators of fry and other small bass are going to be crawfish, other small fish, and bugs in the water. And anything in that category is more than likely going to get bit. My dad actually caught his personal best largemouth bass on a soft plastic crawfish this year. So getting something into that bass bed that's going to trigger a bite is the best thing to throw. Spawning is one of the best times of the year for beginner fishermen to catch big largemouth bass, but after a few weeks, these fish will move into the post-spawn phase. Post-spawn is one of the more challenging times of the year to catch bass because these bass are coming off a very stressful couple of weeks. They're going to be skinny, they're going to be tired, and they're going to be lethargic. So you have to be really keen on what you're throwing and where you're throwing it. Philip Gentry, who works in Mossy Oak, states that the lull is not actually caused because of a lack of bass aggression, but a change in the fish's mindset from guarding or protecting the nest to rebuilding muscle and fat reserves expended during the spawning process. So this actually gives me a different perspective because I have never thought of it like that. I've just thought that these fish don't really want to bite. Because of the stress, these fish are going to be hungry, but they're going to want to look for an easy meal. They're not going to have to spend a lot of energy because they just expended a lot. Like many other aspects of the animal kingdom, nothing is going to go to waste. So shad and other bluegill are going to take over these bass' beds, and they're going to use it for their beds. So these bass are usually going to hang around where they bedded at for a couple more weeks. Anything that can represent a dying bait fish or an easy meal is going to be one of the best lures to throw this time of year. My personal favorite lure this time of the year is the frog. Not only that, because of how good of a lure it is, because of the time of the year that you're throwing it. Summer is one of my favorite times to throw. You've got a nice morning, it's dew on the water, it's a cool 70 degrees, it's a really relaxing time to throw a frog. Other lures like a finesse, anything that's finesse and shaky heads that are going to entice these bass to an easy meal. Though post-spawn is a challenging time to catch fish, it can make for a relaxing and enjoyable trip with proper preparation and knowledge. Largemouth bass goes through a very unique stage in late spring and early summer, so knowledge of what is going on in the water is going to be critical to be catching big fish. Spawning season is an excellent time for fishermen to catch really big fish, and it's an excellent time for fishermen to catch a lot of fish. From eating bait fish till they can't anymore to being skinny as a piece of paper, these bass really show a true act of resilience, and what comes with this is an opportunity for fishermen to get a line in the water and catch these fish. Knowing what goes on in the water at certain times of the season can help weathered and beginner fishermen catch more big fish. Next time you're out on the water, scan your surroundings, see what's going on in the water, and catch your new PB.